This story is titled, Am I Wrong for Throwing My Husband Out After Finding Nudes from the Nanny? By username ICCable3267. I'm new to Reddit, but my little sister suggested I ask here. I'm 28 female, my daughter is Cassie, 11 months old, and my husband is Alex, 35 male. So basically, it's just what the title says. I had Cassie and then returned to work, psychologist, as I could never be a stay-at-home mom. I'm actually French but live in the US. So when I returned at the 4-month mark, as I had a difficult birth, we looked around to find a nanny to look after Cassie while myself and Alex were at work. We saw a few girls, but then one of Alex's colleagues suggested his daughter who had dropped out of college. Let's call her Liv, 20 female. Everything went well. Admittedly, I did notice her being quite attached to Cassie, but I brushed it off as a good friendship between the two. She also liked Alex. It was obvious she had a crush on him, always batting her lashes and giggling. I actually found it amusing as I'm confident in myself. He always laughed it off with me too. But then on Thursday night, he asked me to do something on his phone whilst he bathed Cassie, and I saw some pictures flash up from Liv. When I looked at them, they were obviously sexy nudes. She was wearing skimpy lingerie and in provocative poses. I looked back at the history, and she had been sending these for a while. As far as I can see, Alex has never responded, but obviously texts can be deleted. When I asked him, he got defensive and told me to stop using my psychiatrist tricks on him. I was not happy with his non-answers, and it ended up in a shouting match waking Cassie. So I got him a bag and threw him out. Told him he's not welcome back until I have answers. I'm considering taking Cassie back home to see my family in France for a little bit. His mother and friends have been blowing up my phone, saying I'm being too harsh, and they were harmless texts. Nevertheless, I feel disrespected, and that doesn't fly with me. Was I too harsh? Should I accept his claims that he never responded? Edit. Not husband, fiance. Also, I'm not taking Cassie to France. We will visit my family for a few weeks, and Alex has given consent. Let's read some relevant responses in the comments by OP. One comment reads, the very first time she did that, he should have shown it to you, and the two of you should have discussed what to do, which should have included terminating her employment as your nanny. And the OP says, believe me, I've sent scathing messages of dismissal to her and her father. Another comment says, you're not wrong. He went behind your back by not telling you about the nudes. I would not allow Liv to babysit anymore. It's honestly weird that someone her age would try to seduce your husband who is 35 years old, and even weirder that your husband didn't say anything about it. There's clearly something going on between them, and I would force him to admit the truth to you. It doesn't even matter if he responded to her pics or not. He still broke your trust by not informing you about it. And OP replies, thank you. Yes, I'm suspicious. We have a camera in Cassie's nursery, so I'm going to look over the footage. A user says, there's nothing harmless in that behavior. You have been betrayed. That he tolerated it is enough. Where were the texts telling her he was a married man in love, a father, her dad's friend, and that this was her last 2 weeks? Why did he immediately jump to accusing you of tricks? I would have fired the nanny, told Hub's friend exactly why, and then watched his reactions. You are not wrong. I'm sorry your husband cheated on you by continuing to accept these pictures. I'm sorry he allowed that person access to your home and your whole family. And OP responds, thank you. Yes, I fired her with immediate effect, and her father has been texted. Another user says, you are not wrong. This is horrible. He should have told you with the first photo, and the nanny should have been fired. I absolutely think there is more going on here, which is why he was gaslighting you. You said her father is your husband's colleague. Well, I would be reaching out to him, letting him know, and then firing her. I find it hard to believe that he never responded. Why not mention it to you then? I would not be okay with this situation at all. Obi replies, I messaged her father earlier, and I meant to update, saying that he replied confused but disappointed. He apologized a lot and said he will talk to his wife about what to do next. But that's their issue. Update 1. I'd like to start this off addressing the comments stating I'm kidnapping my daughter. I'm taking her with me to visit my family back home in France for a few weeks. Her father has given his consent. It is a non-issue. There was also confusion about my job. I work in the psychology field and I was just using this post as a sounding board really. The responses from his friends and mother made me question myself. As stated, I informed Liv's father of what happened. He was furious both with Alex and Liv. He apologized to me and said he will try to get the truth from her and that she rebels any chance she gets, but this was disgusting. I then looked through the camera in my daughter's nursery and I saw a clip of Liv asking if she wanted a sister or brother from Miss Livy and Daddy. That made me feel sick to my stomach. She responded to her dismissal with denials, but I told her I had the footage and that she was to never lay a hand on my baby again. But if she wanted Alex so bad she could have him. I reminded her that how you get them is how you lose them, and he would soon tire of a 20-something college dropout kid. Alex returned to the house temporarily for us to talk. After me showing him the camera footage, and text from Livy broke down and said he was really sorry. He admitted that whilst nothing had physically happened between them, they had been exchanging photos and messages for a month or two. He showed me the original messages, and it was her who had pursued him. She started by saying she felt like a schoolgirl around him, and said she needed advice from an important man like him, and sent a photo of her in lingerie asking if it was sexy. He started out not really responding, but after a few texts he responded, and it started from there. She was saying things about them being a happy family together, but he never responded to those texts. He begged me to forgive him and start fresh. He said we can move and that we have plenty of money. He will do whatever I want. I told him what I want is to go home for a few weeks, so that's what I'm doing. Cassie and I are flying tomorrow. He honestly looks so pathetic right now. They are welcome to each other. There will be no wedding, and I will be consulting with a custody lawyer once I get to France to see my options both in the US and internationally. But as someone in the comments said, I stayed in the US not because I think it's a good place to live, but because that's where Alex was based and wanted to build our family. However, I will always support the daughter-father relationship, but he cannot have our daughter and his nanny. Now that's not happening. I would like to move home and most certainly away from the promiscuous nanny. I am not looking for custody advice. Mini update from Liv's father. He has found and sent me some of the deleted messages. Liv talks about wanting me out of the picture so she can be Cassie's mom. What the F? Now, let's read some comments OP responds to. One comment says, she really was 100% delusional, OP. And Alex fed into it. Do you trust his judgment for the kind of people he would bring around your child? Especially once he starts dating again? Are you sure your daughter will remain his priority while she is solely in his care? I know it is never ideal, but please don't completely dismiss you having full custody. If moving back home to France is what's best for you and her, he can travel and bend his life to accommodate hers. If he doesn't, you have your answer. And Opie says, thank you. Yes, that is a worry I have. I will probably go to France, but I will try to sort things out for him to still see her. Another comment reads, many people are foolish. Don't listen to them. What kind of father would he be for your daughter if you had equal custody? He obviously cannot be trusted, and that is the worst kind of father for a girl or a boy to have. Case in point is his behavior with a 20-year-old nanny. He didn't shut her delusional behavior down, and he allowed her to send him nude photos and to have this young, deranged woman state she wanted you out of the way, without calling her out or cutting their relationship off. Seek legal advice in France. I would hope that those circumstances should make it fairly easy for you to get full custody, as long as you allow some kind of every 2 weeks visitation for him, which he likely wouldn't use anyway. Best of luck. And Opie replies, I will still support him to have a relationship with our daughter. But he's not a priority anymore. A user says, as if the affair itself was not bad enough, he was doing nothing to discourage the promiscuous nanny's delusion about having a happy family with Alex and Cassie. Gosh, was she going to turn into a bunny boiler and go after Opie, too? How could Alex not see that he was entertaining the advances of a psycho? I think you are making the safest and wisest choice to pursue full custody. He has not demonstrated that he can make sound decisions for his family. Please share your evidence of the nanny's delusions and Alex's entertaining of it with your custody attorney. Opie responds, thank you. That's what I mean. He cannot have the nanny and our daughter. She is my priority and will be safer with my family. Another user says, from the nanny cam footage, it sounds like she was positioning herself to baby trap him so he's forced to provide for her. It was definitely on her mind to purposely get pregnant. A woman can tell a man she's on birth control. That doesn't always mean she actually is. Like in this situation, I'd make sure him, and especially her dad, see that clip with specifically pointing out that that's what it sounds like. For him, it was an exciting fling with a younger woman. I bet being baby-trapped by her didn't cross his mind. And if it still hasn't crossed his mind, she still has a chance to connecting her to you and your child's lives forever through a sibling she brought into the world with the goal of being provided for at least the next 18 years. And Opie replies, yep. That's why I think it's better to move back to France. If he wants her, he cannot have our daughter. Update 2. Hi, guys. Thanks so much to all of you putting support and advice under my 2 posts. There are also some very obvious insecure incels in the comments claiming I'm kidnapping my daughter. You're giving my sister and me some great laughs. Anyway, for the update, Cassie and I have been in France for 2 days now. It's been so wonderful to be back with my family after missing them for so long. They've been doting on Cassie, especially my mother and father, who, even though we're divorced, remain very amicable for the sake of my sisters and me. Mama had a whole room set up with toys and blankets for Cassie. I've also been loving the wine and cheese and gossiping with my sisters. It's been very good to let loose after all of the stress, honestly. And I've gotten to ride my family's horse and show him to Cassie finally. Someone suggested I meet up with some old friends to go out and let loose, so that's exactly what I did last night. I had a great night meeting back up with some of my old university friends. We went out into the city, had some great food and wine, and went dancing. There's this one guy from our group who used to be very flirty with me back in the day. Anyways, one thing or another happened, and we ended up going back to his place. It was good actually. He listened to what I wanted, and we were both very pleased at the end. Cassie's happy, as am I. I'm meeting a lawyer today, and my ex has been ringing. I let him talk to Cassie whenever he wants, but I'm refusing to engage while I'm on my break. Edit. People need to calm down. I didn't say I'd slept with him. Since people seem to want details, we went back to his, talked about life, and had a makeout session. Although it doesn't matter, as I had kicked my ex to the curb already. Also, Liv contacted me out of anger when Alex cut all contact with her to show that they had a one-night stand a few weeks before I found out. Here are some comments to which OP replied. One comment says, "Does your ex know that you know they slept together now? I am so proud of you, and I wish more women were like you. If I were you, I would have been posting pics of my great night out. F your ex and that piece of crap nanny knockoff." And OP says, "Oh, I think he does. I believe Liv's dad had a conversation with him." Another comment asks, "Is there a way for you to just stay in France, as in live there?" And OP says, "Hopefully, once all the paperwork is done. I've promised to return to the US, so I will." A user says, "Thank you for the update." And wow, he had a one-night stand with this girl? Well, that just goes to show his family that they were not harmless texts. They were tempting texts, and he gave in, and he does not deserve a second chance just because. And no, you do not owe anybody any explanations about whether you're banging someone else or not. Alex already left the relationship. He ended it when he chose a 20-year-old girl. You have no responsibility to him. As for the kidnapping bit, not sure where people get off saying that. You two weren't married, right? And OP says, "Thank you. No, we weren't, and I don't intend on keeping our daughter from him, but he will have to put in some hard work for her custody now." Another comment says, "I'm very glad that you and Cassie are doing much better. You deserve to live a stress-free life. No piece of crap fiancés and nannies allowed." How did he react to you dumping him? Have you heard anything new about Liv from her dad? That girl needs a reality check. OP replies, "He's delusional, wanted to drive me to the airport. Didn't get the message until I gave him the ring back. Liv's dad has been great. I feel bad for him." Update 3. This one comes 6 months later. Hi, guys. A lot of you still comment on my old posts asking for an update, so I thought I'd let you guys know what's happened in the past few months, as I'm sure it'll anger the men in the comments again. So after going to France to visit my parents immediately after what happened 6 months ago, I agreed with my family that I needed to come home to France with my daughter. My family said they would provide any help I needed with moving and lawyers, and my father said a prayer. We never had the wedding as there was no divorce to have to go through. When I returned to the US, I informed my ex-fiancé that there would be no compromise or discussion on my next steps. Cassie and I were returning to France, so I would have my support system closer, and I wouldn't feel so isolated. I told him I'd never try to stop his relationship with Cassie and that he would be welcome to visit her in France, depending on where he decided to live, and that I would happily bring her back to the States for visits periodically. However, I wouldn't compromise with Liv. If I found out she had been near my daughter, I would stop all contact between him and Cassie. I felt like after what he had put me through and how he had disrespected me, I was quite gracious with my offers. We managed to sort the move out in the next 2 months and signed an agreement which stated I was the primary custodian of our daughter, and I made most decisions regarding her. It set out specific times Alex would be able to see or have Cassie. He basically agreed to all of this because he thought once I had left the US, I would become more sympathetic and let him back in once we were in France. I didn't bother to correct him, frankly, because it benefited myself. I found a really nice apartment a street over from my parents', so I moved in there once my parents and sister had helped me get it decorated before I came to France. We've been here for just over 4 months now, and Cassie is settling in great. She goes to a daycare with my friend's son and has made great connections here with other kids. I'd forgotten how much more social the side of having kids was in Europe compared to the US. Once I was added to the parents' group chat, the other mothers had immediately suggested welcome drinks to get to know me better, and I've made some amazing friends with other moms and dads. I didn't have any of this in the US. It's really helped Cassie's language skills as her French is developing much better than when it was just me speaking it to her. I've put her in baby ballet like my parents did with me, and she's loving it. We've gotten a rescue cat called Walter, and Cassie adores him. He sleeps at the end of her bed and looks after her all the time. Alex has been over twice since, even though I had given him plenty more chances to see Cassie. However, he didn't take me up on them. For context, there is no issue with money or his passport to excuse why he won't fly. We spent Christmas with my parents and my sister and her partner, and it was just a lovely celebration after the crap that happened. I've started seeing one of the doctors from the new hospital I work in now. It's still relatively new, so she's met Cassie only briefly. She works in the emergency department, and she's honestly amazing. I did jokingly say Alex had put me off men, but didn't mean to take it so literally. Bisexual woman, shocking, I know. It's going slow as she knows what I've just come out of, but she's very laid back and a go-with-the-flow type of person, which is exactly what I needed. Alex's mother is not happy, as she is of the opinion I should have just ignored what happened between Alex and Liv. However, I'm not just a little American housewife who will ignore her husband's indiscretions. Thank you all for your advice and support in my initial posts. Edit. For all the Americans getting annoyed at the phrase, little American housewife, not my words, I was quite literally quoting Alex's mother and what she said to me. She is an American. She said when I was in her family, I was expected to act like a normal American housewife and forgive my husband like her and her daughter do. None of that European nonsense. Edit. It's really funny to see the men in the comments proving that there is still a double standard. I don't know why I, as the mother, am expected to stay in a country that doesn't speak my first language, where I don't have any family, little friends, no support. Have to deal with Alex's family all for his sake so he doesn't have to make an extra effort to see his daughter when he was the one who decided to break the family in the first place. Also, Americans, I'm sorry I'm not insulting you, lol. Well, that was a doozy. Now for the second story. This one's titled, Am I Wrong for Refusing to Apologize for Snapping Back at My Friend's Sister? By username Sleepy Sleepy Chick. For background, my 33-year-old female friend, Beth, 34-year-old female, has an older sister, Jill, 38-year-old female, who has hated me since we first met. She always called me a weirdo freak and said I deserved the bullying I got at school because I was such a dork. I stopped visiting Beth's house because of Jill and didn't see her again until Beth's 18th birthday, where she told people that I was harassing her boyfriend. I literally said hello to him, and that was it, because I was too ugly and weird to attract my own guy. Thankfully, she moved away not long after, and I was just glad to be rid of her. Now, Beth and I arranged a dinner reservation with the other three in our group. Liz, 33-year-old female, Kelly, 34-year-old female, and Megan, 34-year-old female. This was our first real chance to see each other in over 2 years, due to a number of reasons, and we were all looking forward to a chance to catch up. Beth offered to drive me and Kelly with her to the restaurant, since neither of us can drive and I have CFS, that is, chronic fatigue syndrome, and several types of chronic pain, so traveling isn't easy for me. We caught a bus to Beth's flat together, but it was Jill who answered the door, which shocked us both. Beth hadn't told us Jill was visiting, and we'd have appreciated a heads up since neither of us has a good history with Jill. Still, we were polite. Kelly said hello and complimented Jill's dress, and I said, "Hi Jill, nice to see you, how have you been?" Jill completely ignored Kelly and turned to me and said, "Better than you, clearly, still a pale freak, aren't you?" I couldn't help it and snapped at her that at least I'm not a bitter hag still clinging to grudges I started with a 12-year-old. Maybe it's time you grew up a bit. Jill immediately ran off screaming for Beth and said she's not taking us anywhere until that "see you next Tuesday" apologizes, which confused me and Kelly because why would she be taking us anywhere? That was when Beth came out and revealed her car was broken, so Jill was meant to be driving us, and I shouldn't have been cruel to her sister, and that's just Jill's humor. Kelly called bullshit and said Jill is a bully and she's only surprised I hadn't snapped years ago and told me I'd better not apologize. I said I had no intention to. Beth said, well, you can make your own way to the restaurant then, and kicked us out. Kelly and I called Liz and Megan to update them and say we'd be running late since we now had to pay for a cab, and they are split. Liz thought I should just apologize because Beth is siding with Jill and it would cut the tension, but Megan thought this was long overdue and Jill had it coming, and Beth needs to accept her sister's actions have consequences. In the end, I refused to apologize, and we got a taxi, only to find out Beth was refusing to join us over what I said to Jill. This was a week ago, and Beth is now refusing to speak to any of us other than Liz, who told her she said I was at fault, until I apologized to her sister. Am I wrong? Edit. Thank you for so many positive responses. I am off to bed, but we'll update soon. Let's read some relevant comments by Opie. On Beth and Jill, Opie says, thank you. Liz and Beth's reactions to this whole thing had me feel I was going insane, and Kelly and I were both really confused about why Beth didn't warn us beforehand. She knows our history with Jill isn't pleasant. TBH, I'm seriously considering cutting Beth off for this if she keeps reacting this way. Thank you for your comment. Writing this all out has made me realize I have been too forgiving of Beth over the years, especially where Jill is concerned. I think I will be cutting ties with her for sure. And on their history, Opie says, thank you for your comment. I said this in another reply, but Beth and I have been friends since I was 12, and she was one of the few people in our year group who didn't bully me. Since Liz, Megan, and Kelly are all friends with her as well, it's been easier to just put up with her. It's getting ridiculous now, and I'm seriously considering cutting Beth off for this and just dealing with the fallout. One user asks, who the F holds on to 30-year drama? And Opie comments, it's honestly bizarre, but this is exactly the same as she acted when we were in school. I do not understand her at all or what she hoped to get out of this. Another user asks, nobody did anything when it was a 17-year-old picking on a 12-year-old? Opie replies, yeah, Beth and Jill's family acting like it was harmless fun. And my own family was so caught up with the in-school bullying I didn't tell them about Jill's comments because honestly, compared to what I faced at school, it was so minor. I've definitely had my eyes opened about Beth and Liz because of this, and I am thinking it's time to cut them off. Beth definitely, Liz I will give a final chance to apologize. Another commenter asks, what's so great about being her friend anyway? And Opie says, I've been sitting thinking about your questions for the last few minutes, and I'm sad to say I cannot think of a single thing I have missed about Beth in the 2 years since we last saw each other. Our group? Sure, plenty, but Beth herself, no. As we've grown older, we've clashed more and more, especially about my health, and I've bit my tongue a lot for the sake of our group, but I think I need to have a quiet word with Meg and Kelly to let them know I'll be cutting contact with Beth and Liz. Now for the update that comes 6 days later. Hi folks, a lot of you asked me to update after my last post to let you know what I decided to do. Thank you to all the commenters who let me know I was not going crazy. Liz and Beth's insistence that I apologize was making me second-guess myself, so I appreciate your help. Most of you also pointed out Beth's reaction was enabling Jill, and Liz's reaction was expecting me to roll over in the name of keeping the peace. I've come to realize that this has been a pattern for years in our group, playing peacekeeper to Beth and Liz for the good of the group, not only for me, but for Megan and Kelly as well. So, the update. I still haven't heard from Beth, but Liz has been bombarding me with texts and voicemails saying I was out of order and owe all 3 of them apologies for how I acted and for continuing to drag things out. She even suggested, as a way to start making it up, I should take everyone, including Jill, to a restaurant and pay for everything. I have no desire to spend what would be a month's rent on their drinks bill alone, not to mention I don't feel I've done anything wrong. Frankly, that she even suggested this only persuaded me more to cut her off. I met up with Megan and Kelly last night and told them that I'm not apologizing to Jill. Frankly, she's stuck in her high school mean girl era, and I'd be glad never to see her again. I also said I am sick of swallowing my feelings to avoid tension because Liz and Beth never apologize, and I am cutting contact with Beth and Liz. I was expecting protests about breaking up the group. I did not expect Megan to admit she's only stuck with Liz for so long because, like me with Beth, Liz was one of her only friends during her bullied years and she didn't want to ruin our dynamic by acting out of turn. Or for Kelly to say that for years she's been sick of Liz and Beth treating the 3 of us like we're inferior, and she was worried if she spoke up about it, she'd lose me and Megan as well. We all had a very overdue chat about how we all really feel about this group and agreed that Beth and Liz are not true friends to any of us. Kelly and Megan showed me their messages from Beth and Liz, basically painting me as some kind of demon hellbent on ruining their lives. I had to laugh at the one from Liz reminding them both of how I ruined her wedding by not attending due to my selfish emergency surgery. This was 5 years ago, and I'm only now hearing that I ruined things, because some guests asked after my health at the reception and drew attention away from her big day. Clearly, I am an awful person for this. Anyway, we are completely cutting contact. We've saved our messages just in case, because I don't see Jill, Beth, or Liz disappearing quietly from our lives once they realize we're not going to play ball. But in the meantime, we're planning a zoo trip next week, so we'll enjoy a day out free of drama. Wow, Opie, it seems like dealing with Beth and Jill has been quite challenging for you. It must feel isolating to go through this, especially considering the history you share with Beth. I can imagine you might be feeling overwhelmed by the situation and the unexpected reactions from your friends. Your decision to cut off toxic relationships shows strength and resilience in prioritizing your well-being. Remember that protecting your own mental health is a self-caring choice you shouldn't shy away from making. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you for tuning into our stories today. If you found it engaging or have thoughts to share, drop a comment below. Your feedback means the world to us. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more content, and hit that notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, take care.